of the direct freight corridor with Dr. Rani. She is Director of Finance or CFO with CONCOR. Ms. Rani, good morning and thank you for joining us. If I look at the freight data which is coming for the railway segment, the data is not encouraging. There is a vertical drop in coal movement and fertilizer movement. Why do you think that has happened?
See, when you talk about coal and fertilizer, then you're not talking about container transportation. I think I would not be the correct person to comment about coal and fertilizer. Containers, the commodities moved by containers is something which would impact us. And I think from this year, last year, there were several factors that affected our, I would say, the competitiveness, and that is why maybe we lost a lot of traffic. Of course, exports also had dip during the last year, but this year, since due to the various budget announcements which greatly favored container movement on rail, we have seen, I think we are seeing a trend which is very positive. So coal and fertilizer is not commodities moved by containers.
Fair point. Dr. Rani, you are a direct proxy of the direct freight corridor, which is expected to be complete in 2018 to 19 period. Based on the current execution plans and speed, how do you see it boosting volumes and financials for you, in particular at CONCOR?
It's good news all the way. DFC, I also heard what the MD DFC said straight from the horse's mouth. You know how fast the progress is, and it's very good news for the container sector, because especially the rail container sector, because as you know, the main constraint for us over the last several years has been the track availability for running container trains, which generally the main track which is connecting the northern hinterland with western ports had a lot of congestion, because it is one of the main rail streams, and both for passenger and for freight, and freight including not only containers but other goods traffic also. So we had this constraint, and this announcement of DFC and the subsequent progress it has made, and the recent pickup in its progress, all this is really good news, and we are really looking forward, because the various benefits like double stacking and you know, the frequency of trains we can run, the capacity of trains which we can run, all that is going to bring in a lot of business to CONCOR, as well as you know, a good jump in our performance.
Dr. Rani, you know, again referring to this same discussion that we were having before you, and the MD had to say that they have awarded contracts worth 24,000 in FY16 versus 13,000 in the previous 5 years. So now my question is that a layman would believe that if so many DFCs, so much of awarding is being given for dedicated freight corridors, then it will benefit a company like CONCOR. Can you derive or can you explain the correlation between this? Because just in order to be able to understand the magnitude of benefits that come into a company like yours with the increasing spend in DFCCs?
Yeah. Number one, I mean, completion of this great infrastructure called the dedicated freight corridor is going to be a big capacity jump for us. That is the main benefit. What in terms of number one, it's going to enable us to run faster trains. And then secondly, it's going to improve the capacity of loading on these trains, because there is a there has been news that DFC is going to allow us to run longer trains, and then when the trains are, the turnarounds are better, the congestion, the evacuation at the ports are going to be faster. So all this is going to benefit the customer very directly, and also the double stacking benefits, which DFC is going to bring for container rail operators, is also going to make it economical in a way, because when there are 4 containers instead of 2 on a wagon, then or 2 instead of 1, then it's definitely there are going to be economic benefits all around, and I'm sure some of it is going to be passed on to the customers also, and make us really competitive vis-a-vis road. So these are the various benefits, but I would also like to stress that it's not just FY19 that we are looking forward to when the entire DFCC is complete and gets operational. We are also looking forward, because the contracts have been awarded nearly like a year and a half back, some of these contracts. There is a possibility, and there is a thought process we heard is going on, that sections of this infrastructure may be thrown open to the container rail traffic even before FY19, and even if it is like say 300 kilometers or 400 kilometers, it is still going to allow us to pump in more trains in this circuit. So it's good news. Maybe we will not be able to double stack when there are only sections available, and we may have to wait for the entire project to be completed. But we are even looking forward to increasing the speed in that small sections, which may increase the number of trains which we can run in the circuits. So as I said earlier, it's all good news.
It's all good news, but what markets want to hear are absolute numbers. You've sketched the big picture for us. Let's fill in the colors. Define good news for us in numbers.
So I think when there is a today, when I have rail containers, containers moved by rail to the hinterland are about say 20% of what the entire containers are handled at port. So this ratio can immediately jump to 50 because of the capacity increase that's going to be brought by DFC. So that means more than doubling of the volumes. So how would it happen? Now, it is not just that we are expecting like industry and international trade to pick up. It is we are also aware that when this capacity constraint goes away, there is a lot of customers who want to shift to rail, because rail movement of containers brings in a lot of advantages to the customers. So initial jump, I would say, even in the first 1 or 2 years of this DFC coming into operation, the port share, what we call rail share in port handling, would jump up. It will double and maybe even reach 60%, which is the optimum which you generally find in countries where there is no such constraint.
What was the large reason why your EBITDA for FY16 fell? It was down by about 17-18%. Was there a specific reason? What would you like to attribute that to?
Yeah, I have earlier also spoken to you on this, that last year there were very specific reasons which were all external. One was that there was this service tax which was introduced in the guideline, which in the earlier budget, not this recent one, had denied benefit of credit for service tax collected, service tax paid, if we availed of abatement that is applicable only to goods transported by rail. So that has been removed in the current budget, which made us costlier versus road. Also, there was tariff, which in 2014 there were some tariff increases, which also have made us less competitive. Again, the railway, Indian Railway has been very progressive in this budget. It's not only not raised tariffs, because it is very important that rail remains more economic, more competitive vis-a-vis road, but it also brought in more commodities. There were restrictions on certain commodities not being available for container transportation by rail. These restrictions have been removed in the budget announcements. It was clearly said that these are not restrictions which came in about 5 years back. These have been removed. This makes more traffic, more commodities available for rail container operators like us. So these are the factors which are going to be different from what it was last year. So that was the reason why we lost volumes. And of course, exports did dip in last year, over the last probably the 7 months of last year. And so the empty running was becoming very dangerously high. So there was a reduction in some volumes, because we had to strategize to ensure that we don't sacrifice totally margins in this case, because empty running hits the margins directly. So there was some rationalization we had to do. So some margins we did sacrifice. As you see, EBITDA did drop by nearly 30%. But I'm sure that's all in the past, because as I said, the sales tax guidelines have also been changed. Now rail transport also can avail of abatement and as well as credit. And the rail commodities which the Indian Railway has opened up of container transportation it will give a good boost to both our domestic as well as export segments.
Great. Thank you so much for joining in today and giving us all of those perspectives. We look forward to talk to you after your quarterly numbers as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's the management of CONCOR, sounding very confident, and this DFC spend, and of course the MD of DFCCIL also speaking about the kind quantum of awards that have been given out. However, the big story in the markets, aside of course the market breadth thinning away, is Infosys.